Maya Johnson took a deep breath as she stood outside the tall gates of Westfield Flight Academy. Her hand shook a little as she held her acceptance letter. This was her dream coming true. Since she was a little girl watching planes fly over her grandmother's small house, Maya had wanted to be a pilot. Not just any pilot, but the best one. The path to this moment had not been easy. Maya had worked as a car mechanic for 3 years, saving every dollar she could. She worked double shifts, missed parties, and lived in a tiny apartment just to pay for the school. While other young people her age were having fun, Maya was fixing engines and studying flight books late into the night. "You can do this," she whispered to herself as she pushed open the heavy glass doors of the academy. Inside, the main hall was huge and bright. Clean white walls were covered with pictures of planes and famous pilots. The floor was so shiny Maya could almost see her reflection in it. About 50 other new students stood in groups, talking and laughing. Maya noticed right away that she was the only black woman there. Most of the others were young men in expensive clothes with confident smiles. A group of 5 men near the center of the room caught Maya's attention. They were dressed in designer clothes and expensive watches. Their loud laughs echoed through the hall. The tallest one, a blond man with perfect teeth, looked over at Maya. He nudged his friend and whispered something. They all turned to look at her, then laughed harder. Maya felt her cheeks get hot, but she stood straight and walked toward the registration desk. She had dealt with people like this before. Her grandmother always told her, "Let your work speak for you. It shouts louder than any words." As Maya wrote her name on the sign-in sheet, she heard one of the rich young men say, "I heard they had to lower the test scores this year to let in more diverse students." His friends laughed. The lady at the registration desk gave Maya a folder with her room key and schedule. "Welcome to Westfield, Ms. Johnson. Orientation starts in 30 minutes in room 101. "Thank you," Maya said with a smile, pretending she hadn't heard the comments. Maya found her room in the student building. It was small but clean, with a bed, desk, and tiny bathroom. She put down her one suitcase and sat on the bed. This would be her home for the next 12 months of training. She took out a small photo of her grandmother and placed it on the desk. The old woman's kind eyes and warm smile gave Maya strength. After changing into her new academy uniform, navy blue pants and a light blue shirt with the academy logo, Maya headed to room 101 for orientation. She chose a seat in the second row, not hiding in the back but not drawing attention in the front either. The room filled up quickly. The group of rich young men came in last, making noise and laughing as if they owned the place. The tall blonde one saw the only empty seats were behind Maya. He rolled his eyes and said something to his friends that made them snicker. A stern-looking older man walked to the front of the room. His uniform had many medals and his gray hair was cut very short. "Welcome to Westfield Flight Academy. I am Colonel Richards, your head instructor. Look around you. Only half of you will complete this program. We accept only the best, and we make them better." Colonel Richards paced back and forth as he spoke. "This academy has trained the finest pilots in our military for 50 years. Our graduates fly the most advanced aircraft in the world. The training will be the hardest thing you have ever done. Some of you will fail, some of you will quit. Only the truly exceptional will succeed." From behind her, Maya heard a whisper, "Bet she's gone by week 2. More snickering followed. Colonel Richards continued, "Tomorrow training begins at 5 a.m. sharp. Physical fitness first, then classroom instruction on basic flight principles. In 3 weeks, you'll have your first simulator test. Anyone who fails, that test goes home immediately." After orientation, the students headed to the cafeteria for dinner. Maya got her food and looked for a place to sit. Most tables were already full of groups that seemed to know each other. The only space left was at the end of a table where the rich boys sat. Maya sat down quietly and began eating. The tall blonde man looked at her with cold blue eyes. "Well, well. Looks like we have company," he said loudly. "I'm Bradley Wellington III. My father and grandfather both graduated from this academy. And you are—" "Maya Johnson," she said simply, meeting his gaze. "Johnson?" Bradley raised his eyebrows. "Don't think I know any Johnsons in the Air Force. What's your family background in aviation?" Before Maya could answer, one of Bradley's friends laughed. Probably none. Isn't it obvious why she's here? Maya took a sip of water, staying calm. I'm here because I scored in the top 5 on the entrance exams. Bradley looked surprised for a second, then smirked. Well, good for you. But test scores and real flying are very different things. My father says natural talent is in the blood. Some people just don't have it. Maya stood up with her tray. I guess we'll find out who has it when training starts. As she walked away, she heard them laughing again. She put away her tray and left the cafeteria, her appetite gone. Back in her room, Maya took out her flight manuals and began studying. She knew the first weeks would focus on physics and engineering principles. Luckily, working as a mechanic had taught her a lot about engines. Maya stayed up until midnight reading, taking notes, and preparing for tomorrow. At 4:30 a.m., Maya's alarm went off. She got up quickly, brushed her teeth, and put on her physical training uniform. She was nervous but excited. This was day 1 of her new life. The training field was dark when she arrived. A few other early students stood around looking sleepy. The rich boys were not there yet. At exactly 5 a.m., Colonel Richards walked onto the field. By then, most students had arrived, yawning and stretching. Bradley and his friends came running, up at the last minute looking like they had just rolled out of bed. 20 laps around the field, then 100 push-ups, Colonel Richards shouted. This is just the warm-up. Some students groaned. Maya started running at a steady pace. Years of carrying heavy tools and engine parts had made her strong. She passed many students, including Bradley, who looked shocked to see her moving so easily. By the end of the physical training, everyone was sweating and breathing hard. Maya was tired but still standing tall. Bradley and his friends were bent over, gasping for air. Hit the showers and be in classroom A by Oro 700, Colonel Richards ordered. In the classroom, Maya chose a seat near the front. She had her notebook ready and her manual open before the instructor arrived. This was the part she was most worried about, the technical knowledge. A young female instructor walked in. I'm Captain Lisa Chen. I'll be teaching basic flight physics. This course is designed to weed out those who don't have the mental capacity for flight school. Captain Chen started writing complex equations on the board. Maya took careful notes, focusing hard on every word. Some of it was difficult, but her years of reading flight books helped. During a break, Maya went to get water. She overheard Bradley talking to his friends. My dad says Captain Chen only got her position because they needed a woman instructor. No way she's qualified to teach us. Maya shook her head slightly. It seemed Bradley and his friends questioned anyone who didn't look like them. She went back to her seat and continued studying. At the end of the first day, Maya was exhausted, but proud. She had survived. As she walked back to her room, Bradley and his group passed by. Surprised you made it through day 1, Johnson, Bradley called out. But the simulator tests are where most diversity cases wash out. Maya kept walking, not giving him the satisfaction of a response. In her room, she took out her grandmother's photo. Day 1 done, Grandma, she said softly. They don't think I belong here, but I'm going to prove them wrong. She set her alarm for 4:30 a.m. again and opened her books. The simulator test was only 3 weeks away, and Maya was determined to be more than ready. While the others might rely on their family names or money, she would succeed through hard work and determination. This was just the beginning of her journey to become the pilot she had always dreamed of being. The first week of training at Westfield Flight Academy tested everyone. Each morning began with hard physical exercise at 5 a.m. Then came hours of classroom learning about flight physics, engine mechanics, and weather patterns. After lunch, students practiced emergency procedures and studied maps. Days ended with more physical training and homework that kept most students up past midnight. Maya Johnson managed better than many others. Years of working as a mechanic had made her strong, and she already knew a lot about engines. In class, she often answered questions correctly. This surprised many students, especially Bradley Wellington and his rich friends. On Friday morning, Captain Chen asked a difficult question about engine thrust. The room was silent. Then Maya raised her hand. The thrust depends on both the mass of air pushed back and how fast it moves, she explained clearly. If you double the speed of air pushed out, you get 4 times the thrust. Captain Chen nodded, with approval. Excellent explanation, Johnson. As Maya wrote in her notebook, a paper ball hit her back. She ignored it. When class ended, Bradley walked past her desk and knocked her books to the floor. "Oops, sorry," he said with a fake smile. His friends laughed as they left. Maya picked up her books, her face calm. She wouldn't let them see they bothered her. In the hallway, a tall student with glasses stopped to help her. "I'm Alex," he said. "That was a really good answer in class." "Thanks," Maya replied. "I worked on plane engines before coming here." "It shows," Alex said. "Don't mind those guys, they're just worried because you're smarter than them." Maya smiled, glad to have made a friend. That weekend, while other students went to parties or called home, Maya spent hours in the library. She found old simulator tests and studied them carefully. The first simulator test was coming in 2 weeks, and Maya was determined to do well. On Sunday evening, Bradley and his friends saw Maya in the library. They sat at her table, uninvited. "Working hard, Johnson?" Bradley asked, his voice mocking. "You know, my dad says some people just don't have what it takes to be pilots no matter how much they study." Maya looked up from her book. "Maybe your dad's right. Some people think they already know everything, so they don't bother to learn." Bradley's face turned red. His friends looked uncomfortable. Before he could respond, Maya gathered her books and left. She didn't have time for their games. The second week was even harder. The physical training got more intense. Students had to run longer, do more push-ups, and climb ropes. In the classroom, the material became more complex. On Wednesday, they learned about emergency landings. The instructor, Major Davis, described different scenarios where a pilot might need to land quickly. "Who can tell me the first 3 steps if you lose engine power?" he asked. Maya raised her hand again. "Maintain control of the aircraft, find the best landing spot, and contact air traffic control if possible." "Correct," Major Davis said. Johnson clearly did the reading. After class, Bradley stopped Maya in the hallway. His friends stood behind him like bodyguards. "How does a mechanic from nowhere know so much?" he asked, his eyes narrow. "Are they giving you the answers?" Maya stared back at him. "I work twice as hard as you, that's how." "We'll see who's really good when we get in the simulators," Bradley said. "Books are one thing, actual flying is another." That night in her room, Maya called her grandmother. The old woman's voice was warm and familiar. "How's my pilot doing?" her grandmother asked. "It's hard, Grandma," Maya admitted. "Some people here don't think I belong." "Baby girl, people like that have always existed," her grandmother said wisely. "Your grandfather faced the same when he fixed planes in the Korean War. They didn't think a black man could understand engines, but he proved them wrong every day." Maya felt stronger after the call. Her grandparents had faced worse and succeeded. She could too. The next day, students had their first look at the flight simulators. These were large machines that looked like real airplane cockpits inside. They had all the same controls, screens, and seats as real planes. When inside, screens showed realistic views of the sky, ground, and weather. The instructor demonstrated how the simulator worked. "Next week, each of you will complete a basic flight test in these machines. Anyone who fails goes home." Students were allowed to practice on the simulators when they weren't being used for classes. The sign-up sheet filled quickly. Maya put her name down for 10 p.m. that night, one of the few open slots. At 10 p.m., Maya went to the simulator room. She was tired after the long day, but she needed practice. To her surprise, Bradley and 2 of his friends were there. "What are you doing here, Johnson?" Bradley asked. "This is our practice time." Maya showed him the sign-up sheet. "My name is right here, 10 to 11 p.m. Bradley's friend looked at the sheet. "Someone crossed your name out and wrote ours." Maya looked closer. Her name had indeed been crossed out with Wellington Group written over it. "That's not fair," she said firmly. "I signed up first." Bradley shrugged. "Life isn't fair. My father says you need to learn how things really work in this world." Maya was about to argue more when the door opened. It was Captain Chen. "Is there a problem here?" she asked, looking at the group. Maya explained what happened. Captain Chen checked the sign-up sheet. "The original name was Johnson," she said, her voice strict. "The simulator is hers for the next hour. You three can sign up for tomorrow." Bradley looked angry but didn't argue with the instructor. As he left, he whispered to Maya, "Teacher's pet." Captain Chen stayed to help Maya get started in the simulator. "Don't let them discourage you," she said. "I've been watching your work. You have potential." Inside the simulator, Maya felt at home among the controls and screens. Captain Chen set up a simple flight path for her to follow. Maya's hands moved confidently over the controls. She had studied the manual so carefully that she knew where everything was. For the next hour, she practiced taking off, flying straight, turning, and landing. Each time she made a mistake, she learned from it and did better on the next try. When her time was up, Maya didn't want to leave. Flying, even in a simulator, felt right. It was what she was meant to do. "Good work tonight," Captain Chen said. "You have natural instincts." Maya smiled. "Thank you for helping me." The aviation world isn't always welcoming to women, especially women of color, Captain Chen said. "I know what you're going through, but skill speaks louder than prejudice. Keep working hard." The next few days, Maya practiced in the simulator whenever she could. She often went late at night when no one else wanted the time slots. Sometimes she was so tired she could barely keep her eyes open, but she pushed through. The day before, the simulator test, Maya felt nervous but ready. She had practiced every possible scenario. That evening, as she walked to the dining hall for dinner, she overheard Bradley talking to his friends. "My father called Colonel Richards personally," he was saying. "He reminded him how much money our family has donated to this academy. There's no way I'm failing tomorrow." Maya walked away quietly. So that's how it was. Bradley thought his family name and money would get him through. Maya only had her skills and hard work. Tomorrow would show which was more important. That night, Maya looked at her grandmother's photo. "Tomorrow's the big test, Grandma," she whispered. "I'm going to show them what I can do." She set her alarm and went to bed early. Tomorrow would change everything. Either she would prove she belonged at the academy, or she would be sent home. Maya was determined it would be the first option. She would show Bradley and everyone else that she deserved to be there just as much as anyone else, maybe even more. The morning of the simulator test arrived with gray skies and light rain. Maya woke before her alarm, her stomach tight with nerves. She got dressed quickly and looked at her grandmother's photo. "Today's the day," she whispered. She touched the photo gently before heading to breakfast. The cafeteria was unusually quiet. Most students sat with worried faces, reviewing notes or staring at their food. Even Bradley and his friends weren't laughing as usual. Maya got a small plate of eggs and toast. She wasn't hungry, but she knew she needed energy for the test. Alex, her new friend, joined her at the table. "Ready?" he asked. Maya nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be. You?" "Nervous," Alex admitted. "I heard they fail at least 10 students after this test." At 8 a.m. sharp, all students gathered outside the simulator room. Colonel Richards stood before them with a clipboard. "Today determines who stays and who goes," he said firmly. "Each of you will complete the same flight scenario. You'll take off, navigate through a storm, handle an engine warning light, and land safely. You'll be scored on following proper procedures, maintaining control, and making good decisions." The colonel looked at his list. "Wellington, you're first." Bradley stepped forward with a confident smile. He looked at Maya and smirked before entering the simulator room. The door closed behind him. The other students waited nervously. Some paced back and forth. Others reviewed their notes one last time. Maya closed her eyes and visualized the entire flight in her mind, going through each step carefully. After 30 minutes, Bradley came out with a wide grin. He high-fived his friends. "Piece of cake," he said loudly, glancing at Maya. One by one, students went in for their tests. Some came out looking relieved, others looking defeated. 3 students came out in tears knowing they had failed. Johnson, Colonel Richards finally called. You're up. Maya took a deep breath and walked into the room. The simulator sat in the center, looking like a real cockpit. 3 instructors, including Captain Chen, sat at computers nearby to monitor her performance. Begin when ready, Colonel Richards said. Maya climbed into the simulator and put on the headset. She adjusted her seat and began the pre-flight checks, touching each control in the correct order. The screens came to life, showing a runway on a rainy day, just like the real weather outside. Westfield Tower, this is Training Flight 345, ready for takeoff, Maya said into her headset, following proper radio procedure. Training Flight 345, you are cleared for takeoff, a voice responded. Maya pushed the throttle forward smoothly. The simulator vibrated as the virtual plane accelerated down the runway. At the right speed, she pulled back on the control stick. The nose lifted, and the plane rose into the air. Positive rate of climb, Maya said, following the checklist in her mind. Gear up. The simulator rocked as it entered the virtual storm clouds. Rain streaked across the windshield. The controls became harder to hold steady. Maya remained calm, making small corrections to keep the plane level. Suddenly, a red warning light began flashing on the right engine display. This was the emergency, part of the test. Maya quickly scanned her instruments to assess the problem. Right engine showing high temperature, she reported. Reducing power to right engine and adjusting trim to compensate. Her hands moved confidently across the controls. She remembered everything from her late-night practice sessions. The plane wanted to turn right because the left engine now had more power, but Maya used the rudder to keep flying straight. Westfield Tower, Training Flight 345 declaring an emergency. Right engine overheating, requesting priority landing. Understood, Training Flight 345. You are cleared for immediate landing on runway 27. Maya began her approach to the runway. Landing with one engine at reduced power was tricky. The plane wanted to sink too quickly. She adjusted the throttle on her good engine carefully, keeping her descent rate steady. The runway appeared through the virtual rain. Maya lined up perfectly. At the right moment, she reduced power, flared the nose up slightly, and the plane touched down smoothly. She applied brakes and brought the aircraft to a complete stop. Training Flight 345 safely on the ground, she reported, completing the final checklist. The simulator screens went dark. Maya took a deep breath and removed her headset. Her hands were shaking slightly from the intensity of the experience. Captain. Chen was smiling. The other instructors were writing notes. Colonel Richards had no expression. You may go, Johnson, he said simply. Maya left the simulator room, not knowing if she passed or failed. Outside, Bradley and his friends were still waiting. How'd it go, Johnson? Bradley asked. Ready to pack your bags? Maya ignored him and found a quiet corner to sit in. Alex joined her a few minutes later after completing his own test. That was intense, he said. I think I passed, but barely. How about you? I don't know, Maya answered honestly. I handled everything by the book, but who knows what they're looking for. After the last student finished, everyone was told to report to the main classroom in 1 hour for results. That hour felt like the longest in Maya's life. She went back to her room and called her grandmother, who assured her that she had done her best and that was all that mattered. At exactly noon, all students gathered in the classroom. Colonel Richards entered with several instructors, including Captain Chen. The room fell silent. Colonel Richards stood at the front. The purpose of this test was to identify those with the natural instincts and discipline needed to become pilots. Out of 47 students, 35 passed. The rest will leave the academy tomorrow morning. He began reading names from a list. Each name he called had passed. Students sighed with relief when they heard their names. Wellington, he called, and Bradley pumped his fist. More names followed. Maya's stomach tightened with each one. Had she failed? Had all her hard work been for nothing? Johnson, Colonel Richards finally said. Maya closed her eyes briefly in relief. She had passed. Alex's name came soon after, and they exchanged happy glances. After all names were called, 12 students sat in stunned silence, realizing their dreams of becoming pilots had ended. Maya felt sorry for them, but was grateful she wasn't among them. As students filed out of the classroom, Captain Chen stopped Maya. "Johnson, a word," she said. When they were alone, she continued, "Your simulator performance was excellent. In fact, you scored in the top 3 of all students." Maya was surprised. "Really? Thank you for telling me. You handled the engine?" "Emergency perfectly," Captain Chen said. "Many students panicked or forgot procedures. You stayed calm and methodical." Maya smiled. "All those late nights practicing paid off." "Keep up the good work," Captain Chen said. "The next phase gets harder. You'll start flying real training aircraft next week." As Maya left the classroom, she saw Bradley waiting in the hallway. His usual group of friends wasn't with him. "Congratulations on passing," he said, his voice lacking its usual mockery. Maya was suspicious. "Thanks. You too." "Look, Johnson," Bradley said, looking uncomfortable. "My father always taught me that some people aren't cut out for flying. But you—" He paused. "You clearly know what you're doing." Was this an apology? Maya wasn't sure, but she nodded. "We all have a lot to learn still." Bradley nodded back. "See you in the air next week." He walked away. Maya watched him go, wondering if he was finally seeing her as a real pilot instead of just a black woman who didn't belong. Maybe, maybe not. Either way, she had proven herself in the simulator. Next week, she would get to fly a real plane. That night, Maya called her grandmother with the good news. "I knew you could do it, baby girl," her grandmother said proudly. "Your grandfather would be so proud." "The real training is just beginning," Maya said, "but I'm ready for it." As she prepared for bed, Maya looked out her window at the dark sky. Soon she would be up there, flying among the clouds, not in a simulator, but in a real aircraft. The thought made her smile as she drifted off to sleep, dreaming of soaring through blue skies. The next week brought a new excitement to Westfield Flight Academy. The remaining 35 students would now begin flying real aircraft. These weren't fighter jets yet, just small, single-engine training planes, but they were real, and they really flew. On Monday morning, Maya stood on the airfield with the other students. 5 small white planes with blue stripes sat waiting. The morning sun made them shine. Maya felt her heart beat faster at the sight. Major Williams, the flight instructor, stood before the group. "From now on, you'll be divided into groups of 7. Each group will have 1 instructor. You'll take turns flying with 1 student pilot and 1 instructor in each plane." He read from his clipboard, assigning students to groups. Maya heard her name called for Group 3, along with Alex. That was good news. But then she heard another name in her group, Bradley Wellington. Maya sighed quietly. She had hoped to be in a different group from him. Major Williams continued, "Today, your instructors will demonstrate the basics. You'll observe from the passenger seat. Tomorrow you begin flying yourselves." Maya's group was assigned to Captain Rodriguez, a serious-looking man with gray at his temples. He gathered them around one of the small planes. "This is a T-6 Texan II training aircraft," he explained. "It's the same plane that has trained thousands of military pilots. Respect it, and it will take care of you. Fear it, and it will sense your fear." Captain Rodriguez looked at each student carefully. "Who wants to be my first passenger today?" Several hands went up immediately, including Bradley's. Maya kept her hand down, watching and learning. "Wellington, you're up first," Captain Rodriguez said. Bradley stepped forward with a confident smile. He climbed into the passenger seat while Captain Rodriguez took the pilot's seat. The engine started with a loud roar, and soon the little plane was taxiing down the runway. It lifted smoothly into the air and disappeared into the blue sky. "That should be me up there," one of Bradley's friends said. "My father paid enough money to this academy." Maya said nothing, but she thought about how different their worlds were. These rich students thought money should buy them special treatment. Maya only wanted a fair chance to prove herself. One by one, each student in the group got a turn to fly with Captain Rodriguez. When it was Maya's turn, she climbed into the passenger seat with careful movements. The cockpit was small and filled with instruments, switches, and screens. "Nervous, Johnson?" Captain Rodriguez asked as he started the engine. "No, sir," Maya replied honestly. "Excited?" Captain Rodriguez smiled slightly. "Good answer." The plane moved forward, picking up speed on the runway. When it lifted into the air, Maya felt a thrill unlike anything she had experienced before. The ground fell away below them. Buildings became tiny. Cars looked like toys. Captain Rodriguez demonstrated basic maneuvers: climbing, descending, turning. Maya watched every move he made, noting how he held the controls, which instruments he checked most often, and how he communicated with the control tower. "Would you like to try a simple turn?" Captain Rodriguez asked. "Yes, sir," Maya said eagerly. "Put your hands on the controls. Feel how I move them. Don't fight me, just follow along." Maya placed her hands lightly on her set of controls. She could feel the captain's movements through them. When he turned the plane left, she followed the motion. It felt natural, like the plane was an extension of her body. "You have good instincts," Captain Rodriguez said when they landed 30 minutes later. "Stay focused and you'll do well." That evening, Maya called her grandmother with excitement in her voice. "Grandma, I flew today. I was just in the passenger seat, but tomorrow I'll actually fly the plane myself." "Your grandfather is smiling down on you, baby girl," her grandmother said warmly. "He always said you were born to fly." The next day, the real training began. Each student would take turns flying the plane with the instructor ready to take over if needed. Maya was scheduled to be the third student pilot in her group. Bradley went first again. When he returned, he walked past Maya with a smug look. "Try not to crash," he said. Alex went next and came back looking a bit pale. "It's harder than it looks," he told Maya. "I almost forgot the pre-flight checklist because I was so nervous." Then, it was Maya's turn. She walked to the plane with confident steps. Captain Rodriguez was already in the instructor's seat. "Ready, Johnson?" he asked. "Yes, sir," Maya replied, climbing into the pilot's seat. The controls felt different when she was sitting in the pilot's position. There was more responsibility, more power. Maya went through the pre-flight checklist carefully, checking each item twice. "Good," Captain Rodriguez nodded. "Always be thorough with the checklist. Now start the engine." Maya's hand was steady as she started the engine. The plane vibrated around her, alive and waiting for her commands. She radioed the control tower for permission to taxi. "Remember gentle inputs," Captain Rodriguez advised as Maya began moving the plane toward the runway. "Never rush, never jerk the controls." Maya's movements were smooth and precise. When they reached the runway, she took a deep breath and pushed the throttle forward. The plane accelerated quickly. At the right speed, Maya pulled back on the control stick, just as she had practiced in the simulator. The nose lifted, and suddenly they were airborne. "Excellent takeoff," Captain Rodriguez said. For the next 40 minutes, Maya performed basic maneuvers under Captain Rodriguez's guidance. Her turns were steady, her climbs and descents controlled. She felt at home in the sky, as if she had been flying all her life. When it was time to land, Maya felt a flutter of nerves. Landing was the most difficult part of flying. She lined up, with the runway carefully, maintaining the correct approach speed. "A little more power," Captain Rodriguez suggested. "You're sinking too fast." Maya adjusted the throttle perfectly. The plane descended at the right angle, and she flared just before touching down. The wheels made contact with the runway with only a slight bump. "Very impressive first flight, Johnson," Captain Rodriguez said as they taxied back to the parking area. "One of the best I've seen from a new student." Maya couldn't stop smiling as she climbed out of the plane. The other students were watching, including Bradley and his friends. She expected some sarcastic comment, but Bradley just nodded. Slightly, a look of surprise on his face. Over the next 2 weeks, each student flew daily, learning more advanced maneuvers. Maya excelled in every lesson. Her natural feel for the aircraft, combined with her thorough knowledge of flight principles, made her a standout student. After a particularly good flying session, where Maya perfectly executed a series of challenging turns and climbs, Captain Rodriguez had an announcement for the group. "Next week we'll have the midterm flight evaluation," he said. "You'll be tested on everything you've learned so far. The student with the highest score from each group will get a special opportunity." "What kind of opportunity, sir?" one student asked. Captain Rodriguez smiled slightly. "The top students will get to see an F-22 Raptor up close. One of them might even get to sit in the cockpit." An excited murmur ran through the group. The F-22 Raptor was one of the most advanced fighter jets in the world. Few people ever got to see one up close. "I've got this in the bag," Bradley said loudly. "My father flew F-15s, and my grandfather flew F-4s in Vietnam. Flying fighter jets is in my blood." Maya said nothing, but inside she was determined to win that opportunity. She would study harder and practice more than anyone else. That night, instead of calling her grandmother, Maya wrote her a letter. She described the feeling of flying, the excitement of her first takeoff, and the satisfaction of her first landing. At the end, she wrote, "Next week is a big test. If I do well, I might get to see an F-22 Raptor up close. Wish me luck, Grandma. I'm going to need it." Maya sealed the letter and placed it on her desk to mail tomorrow. Then she opened her flight manual and began studying for the upcoming evaluation. Outside her window, stars twinkled in the dark sky. Someday, Maya thought, she would fly among those stars. But first she had to ace next week's test. The week before the midterm flight evaluation passed quickly. Maya spent every free moment either studying flight manuals or practicing in the simulator. She often skipped meals and stayed up late, determined to be perfect on evaluation day. The night before the big test, Alex found Maya in the simulator room at 11 p.m. "You need to rest," he said, concerned. "You can't fly well if you're too tired." Maya sighed and rubbed her eyes. "You're right, I just want this so badly." "I know," Alex replied. "But you're already the best pilot in our group. Everyone knows it, even if they won't admit it." Maya smiled gratefully. "Thanks. I think I will get some sleep." As she walked back to her room, Maya passed Bradley and two of his friends in the hallway. They were laughing about something but fell silent when they saw her. "Johnson," Bradley nodded. His tone wasn't friendly, but it wasn't mocking either. Something had changed since they started real flying. Perhaps Bradley had realized that family, names and money couldn't make someone a natural pilot. Maya nodded back and continued to her room. She slept deeply that night, dreaming of flying high above the clouds. Evaluation day dawned clear and bright. Perfect flying weather. The students gathered at the airfield, each looking nervous in their own way. Some were quiet, others talked too much. Maya felt calm. She was ready. Colonel Richards addressed the students. "Today's evaluation will test everything you've learned so far. Each of you will fly a specific route, performing several maneuvers along the way. Your instructors will score your performance. The top student from each group will receive a special reward." Captain Rodriguez called Group 3 together. "Wellington, you're first up, then Parker, Johnson, and so on." Bradley stepped forward, looking confident as always. He completed his pre-flight checks and took off smoothly. Everyone watched as his plane climbed into the sky and began the test route. When Bradley returned 30 minutes later, he had a satisfied smile. He had done well, and he knew it. Two more students went before Maya's turn came. She walked to the plane with steady steps, her mind focused only on the flight ahead. Captain Rodriguez would be in the instructor's seat, but he would not help, unless there was danger. "Remember your training, Johnson," he said as Maya climbed into the pilot's seat. "Fly the plane, don't let it fly you." Maya nodded and began her pre-flight checks. She took her time, making sure everything was perfect. Then she started the engine and radioed for permission to taxi. The takeoff was smooth and controlled. As the plane climbed, Maya felt a sense of freedom that only came when she was in the air. Below her, the academy buildings grew smaller. Above her was only blue sky and possibility. "Begin your first maneuver," Captain Rodriguez instructed. Show me a perfect climbing turn to heading 270. Maya banked the aircraft into a turn while increasing power to climb. The move had to be coordinated precisely. Too much bank would lose lift. Too little power would lose altitude. Excellent, Captain Rodriguez said. Now level off at 3,000 feet and proceed to the first checkpoint. For the next 25 minutes, Maya performed each maneuver with precision. Steep turns, slow flight, simulated emergency procedures. She handled them all confidently. Her hands were light on the controls, making small, precise movements. The final challenge was the landing. Maya lined up with the runway carefully, managing her airspeed and descent rate. The crosswind made it tricky, pushing the small plane sideways. She corrected perfectly, touching down right on the center line of the runway. As they taxied back to the parking area, Captain Rodriguez was quiet. Maya couldn't tell if that was good or bad. Had she done well enough? When she climbed, out of the plane, the other students were watching. Alex gave her a thumbs up. Even Bradley looked impressed, though he quickly hid it. After all students had completed their evaluations, they were told to report to the main classroom in 1 hour for results. Maya used that time to call her grandmother. "How did it go, baby? Girl?" her grandmother asked. "I think I did well, Grandma," Maya replied. "But there are so many good pilots here." "None better than you," her grandmother said firmly. "Remember what your grandfather always said? The sky doesn't care about your color or your money, it only respects those who respect it." Maya smiled. "I'll remember. I'll call you when I get the results." In the classroom, tension filled the Maya. Era students waited. Colonel Richards entered with all the flight instructors, including Captain Rodriguez. The room fell silent. "Today we saw the future of aviation," Colonel Richards began. "Some of you showed exceptional skill. Others still have much to learn. Now each instructor will announce the top student from their group." Maya held her breath as the first two instructors named their top students. Then it was Captain Rodriguez's turn. "From Group 3, he said, his face serious. "The top student, with nearly perfect scores in all categories is—" He paused, looking around the room. "Maya Johnson." Maya blinked in surprise. She had done well, but better than Bradley, better than everyone. She glanced at Bradley, expecting anger or resentment. Instead, he gave a small nod, almost respectful. Next to her, Alex squeezed her arm in congratulation. After all top students were announced, Colonel Richards spoke again. "These 5 students have earned a special opportunity. Tomorrow they will visit Westfield Air Force Base to see an F-22 Raptor up close. One of them, the student with the highest overall score, will get to sit in the cockpit and receive a brief orientation from an actual F-22 pilot." Maya could hardly believe it. Not only would she see an F-22, but she might actually get to sit in one. That night she called her grandmother with the exciting news. "I knew you could do it," her grandmother exclaimed. "Your grandfather is looking down right now, so proud he could burst." The next morning, Maya and the other 4 top students boarded a small bus to Westfield Air Force Base. Bradley was not among them, having placed second in their group. Maya felt a mixture of pride and sympathy. She knew how badly he had wanted this. As the bus approached the base, they could see planes taking off and landing on the long runways. After passing through security, they were met by a tall Air Force officer in a flight suit. "Welcome to Westfield Air Force Base. I'm Captain James Torres, F-22 pilot. Today you'll get a close look at the most advanced fighter jet in our inventory." He led them to a large hangar. Inside sat a sleek gray aircraft, with sharp angles and a menacing appearance. The F-22 Raptor looked like it was moving even while standing still. "The F-22 can fly at over twice the speed of sound," Captain Torres explained. "It can perform maneuvers that would make most pilots black out. Only the best of the best get to fly it." The students walked around the aircraft asking questions and taking in every detail. Maya was mesmerized by the powerful machine. This was what she wanted to fly someday. After the tour, Captain Torres looked at his clipboard. "According to your instructors, one of you scored higher than all others in yesterday's evaluation. That student will get to sit in the cockpit." He looked up. "Maya Johnson, step forward." Maya felt her heart racing as she stepped toward the F-22. Captain Torres helped her climb up and settle into the pilot seat. The cockpit was more complex than anything she had seen before, with multiple screens and hundreds of controls. "How does it feel?" Captain Torres asked. "Like home," Maya replied honestly. Something about being in the cockpit of this incredible machine felt right, as if this was where she was meant to be. Captain Torres smiled. "That's how you know you're born to fly. Now let me explain some of these controls." For the next 30 minutes, Maya received a basic orientation to the F-22 systems. She absorbed every word, every detail. This might be her only chance to see inside an F-22, and she wouldn't waste it. When it was time to leave, Maya reluctantly climbed out of the cockpit. As her feet touched the ground, Captain Torres handed her a patch with the F-22 squadron emblem. "Keep working hard," he said. "Maybe someday you'll fly one of these for real." Maya held the patch carefully. "I will, sir. That's a promise." On the Yadni bus ride back to the academy, the other students treated Maya differently. There was a new respect in their eyes. She had proven herself not just good enough to be there, but exceptional. When they arrived at the academy, Maya was surprised to see Bradley waiting by the entrance. He approached as she stepped off the bus. "How was it?" he asked simply. "Amazing," Maya replied. "The most incredible aircraft I've ever seen." Bradley nodded. "You earned it, Johnson. You're the better pilot." It seemed to cost him something to admit this, but his voice was sincere. "Thanks," Maya said, "but we're all still learning." That evening, Maya wrote another letter to her grandmother describing the F-22 in detail and how it felt to sit in the cockpit. At the end, she wrote, "Grandma, today I touched my dream, and I know now more than ever that I can make it come true. No matter what people think when they first see me, my skill in the air will always speak louder than their prejudice." She looked out her window at the night sky, filled with stars and possibility. Maya Johnson, once ridiculed for being a black woman at a prestigious flight academy, had proven that talent, determination, and hard work could overcome prejudice. The sky truly didn't care about color or money. It only respected those who respected it. And Maya had earned that respect.